Hi everybody and welcome to SEO Shorts. Today we're going to be talking about Google showing tweets officially in the Google desktop search. I've got Saad, techbloke.com with me here, and I figured we'd go straight into this because this show is going to be short and sweet and hopefully give everybody some sort of key takeaways to take home. So yeah, basically last Friday, Google announced that they would be officially showing, expanding tweets into search. They're already doing it in mobile, and they expanded it into desktop search after about a month's worth of testing. So now you can search for names of individuals, brands, or hot trends, and if Google deems it relevant, they'll show you tweets for that search query. This has been rolled out, I believe, to like all English users globally, so it should work for everybody searching in English. And just like in the mobile results, what you should see is a carousel with a little button that allows you to sort of click and scroll through the tweets somewhere high up in the organic search results. Google have said the relevancy and algorithm sort of powering this will continue to improve. It's obviously super new, so none of us really know how this is going to sort of turn out. And for that reason, I would say anything that we sort of say here today is very much just opinion and ideas. I wouldn't take anything as gospel. So yeah, please do your own testing. So look, this is super interesting, and you know, maybe what we'll do is kick it off with a few challenges that maybe individuals and brands might find through having tweets sort of publicly available through search. So I'm going to throw out a few ideas, and then Saad, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on it. Sure. So personally, I've come up with sort of two challenges that brands are maybe going to face. And thinking about that, I think the first one is you're going to want to think a bit more carefully about what you tweet, because your social footprint is sort of now going to be displayed in search, and maybe how people react to tweets in search might be a little different to how they react directly within Twitter. So, you know, many social media professionals will tell clients and brands they shouldn't just be tweeting about them. They should be sharing, engaging, and not just promoting themselves across Twitter, right? They don't want it to be a me platform. So it's going to be interesting seeing how brands sort of want themselves displayed in search. Like, you know, would they rather users see something they've shared about another brand or another article in search, or would they rather someone see an article about their latest product, service, or bit of news, etc. Right?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have to be responsible about tweeting, but I think this is actually quite a good news for them as well, because it does open up a lot of opportunity for them for exposure. Like imagine like now, I mean, for example, Dell does a lot of things on their Twitter account. Like they actually use Twitter quite heavily to even promote their products and sell products. I believe they have quite a big budget on Twitter ads as well. So imagine those tweets now showing up on Google when you are searching for like a new laptop, for instance. So I think not only that they are actually using PPC to drive traffic to their site, which is taking up the first 1, 2, or 3 spots. Now the tweets, which is basically like a widget that shows right after the paid search. So basically they are dominating. They could literally dominate the first fold of the website of Google for certain keywords. So if they could use it very wisely, that could be quite interesting.
All right, that's awesome. And I think that sort of ties on to sort of my next challenge, which is what you said is really great, because like the brands that are already sort of getting Twitter and doing it well are probably going to really succeed with this stuff. But the ones that are doing the complete opposite, the sort of brands that really aren't looking at Twitter or maybe using it, but really aren't providing a good customer service or really sort of using Twitter to the full potential, they could struggle a little bit. Because to give you an example, not only will a brand's tweets be displayed, but random tweets about that brand can also be displayed. And it's actually not about the brand. So to give you guys an example, I think if you do a search for, say, Dell, you will see Dell's official Twitter account's tweets, right? But if you do a search for Apple iPhone, which I did before, it brought up a number of tweets that were external, like user tweets, right? So the first few tweets I saw for Apple iPhone were, the first one read, I'm going to read this out to you guys. The first one read, I swear Apple uses planned obsolescence. My iPhone 5S isn't that old, only 1 year, and is so bad. Battery is wrecked. It's not right. And the second tweet read, strange that I can't update my iTunes payment details to use Apple Pay from the iPhone 6. So neither of those are so positive, right? So that brings out like a whole new sort of brand reputation management aspect to companies now in the Google search results, because there could be some really negative stuff popping up, and controlling that across every search phrase or product you have could be almost impossible. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Like how a brand's going to sort of deal with that now?
Well, I mean, I think they need to be very proactive. Basically, they need to sort of solve problems before it even happens. I mean, I think when Twitter first came along, brands were going crazy. I mean, initially they were kind of ignoring it because they thought that will never get mass audience, like mass traction. But then once it started to get that, we now know that all the brands actually have dedicated reps on Twitter, which is like pretty much spends 24/7 replying to tweets and stuff like that. But I think I want to point out something. Like when you see those tweets, actually those are not clickable. I mean, you could click it, but it kind of goes to the profile, but it doesn't actually go to the exact tweet. Does it go for you?
That's actually a really good question, because if it doesn't go to the tweet, it kind of makes it hard for the brand to sort of show a good response, right? Like, let me have a quick look for that. Let me have a quick look. Let me see if I do a quick search for Apple iPhone. I thought the results should be clickable. I read somewhere that results would be clickable by anyone, whether you've got Twitter or not.
Yeah, it is definitely clickable, but I mean, it kind of, for me, it's going to their profile. Obviously, these tweets are very recent, meaning that Google is not showing old stuff. So Google is showing like stuff that has happened like maybe 20 minutes back, stuff like that. So it is very, very, it's going to the exact tweet. But if you look at it, if you can actually scroll.
I'm not even getting the tweets up so anymore.
Oh, okay.
So like but that's what I'm saying, right? Like it seems like Erdal in the comments here is saying that it does, for him it goes to the exact tweet, which is interesting. I think the biggest point here is that no brand, like you're saying, the same way that no brand can control the whole of Twitter, no brand is going to be able to control all of their search results for all of their products, all the different search queries. So like you're saying, it needs to come down to the core, right? The core, a brand today more than ever needs to provide an excellent customer service, a great product, and needs to be getting positive messages coming through from their clients and customers naturally, rather than trying to deal with the unhappy stuff. Obviously everybody has unhappy clients, right? Like you never get 100% happy record, right? Apple's awesome, right. And the 2 tweets that I found were like semi-negative, right? So it's going to happen. And I guess what your thoughts on, like, most people have used Twitter today, right? Or they know what it is. So do you feel, I kind of feel like people that see tweets in the search results will kind of read them or in a slightly different way. Do you get what I mean? Like, I'm not sure how they'll treat them in regards to the rest of the search results.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we don't really know how Google is going to start weighting them. Like, for example, a tweet from you may be weighted differently compared to a tweet from CNN, right? So I think those things will definitely will become a factor eventually, I'm sure, because otherwise there's just so much spam on Twitter that anybody could sort of game the system, and Google is very good at cracking these things down. So I think in terms of, if I sort of push this towards SEO, from what I've seen so far is that the words mentioned on the tweet are very, very important. Meaning that, like, let's say I'm searching iPhone battery, and if there is a tweet within the last 30 minutes where someone has mentioned iPhone battery, basically that tweet is supposed to show up. Obviously Google is still experimenting this, but that's sort of my understanding.
Right.
And it won't show for every single query, but it will show for some query. So let's say if Super Bowl is going on and I search for Super Bowl, and it basically gonna show tweets about Super Bowl. Hashtags works really well. So Mark, if you try now, you just do hashtag iPhone or something, it actually shows up. So I think from an SEO perspective, the brands definitely needs to own their tweets. Like they really need to think before they tweet, and they need to really make sure that all the stuff SEO wise they were doing on their website kind of applies now to Twitter as well. What do you think?
So I don't know. I was thinking about this stuff, and this is where it gets super interesting. And I kind of feel like so many brands have got their sort of social down and the way they use it. Like, I think that it's going to become a really crazy job if every tweet a brand wants to send now goes through this extra layer of like SEO, search and keywords and that kind of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. You can use tools like RightTag, which is run here by Saul, who's on the Blab platform. And that's an awesome tool because that plugs straight into Twitter. And as you're typing your tweet, it gives you numbers in terms of how popular each word is if it was a hashtag, right? So like that's kind of like on the fly tool for writing a tweet and sort of knowing which keywords are more powerful than others in terms of Twitter search and hashtags. That might not always be exactly the same as Google search, right?
Right.
So, you know, for me, it's really interesting, and like I guess my best advice at the moment would be to sort of use a tool like RightTag. Pay attention to keywords, but don't overly do it. Don't turn your Twitter account into some SEO'd up keyword sort of list of tweets. And you know, like you're saying, hashtags do show up really well in search, but how many people actually search for hashtags? You know, it's probably not a big thing. But there is obviously the fact that Google are showing latest trends already. So, you know, obviously today's sad news about that shooting in Virginia. But if you go and search shooting Virginia right now in Google, you will see tweets about it. And interestingly enough, from what I was seeing, Saad, that it was mainly big newspapers that were getting picked up as the tweets. So, you know, your thinking is probably already a big part of their algorithm, right? Newspapers, official, you know, blue tick, Twitter accounts, ones that have got lots of followers. In all likelihood, they are gonna, you know, do a bit better in terms of their tweets being pulled into sort of trending articles.
Yeah, definitely.
So you know that stuff's super interesting. But yeah, I'd love. What do you think? Like, what do you think in terms of how brands should?
I mean, I mean, you mentioned a good point. Yeah, you're saying that people don't search for hashtags. Maybe not.
Good point. Saad, are you there? I think you might have frozen on me.
Not now, but once.
Hopefully we can get Saad back in here. Sorry for the interruption, everybody. Hello, Eileen. Good to see you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, perfect. Sorry.
Perfect.
Let's go.
Sorry, I was saying that you mentioned that people are not searching for it. But I think now that Google is sort of showing tweets, and Google got this deal with Twitter, right, where they are getting about 8,000 tweets per second from Twitter. I mean, this is like the direct line to Twitter. So I think they can do so much with it. And then eventually people will know that they could search for like a hashtag. So there might be a hashtag for like, you know, whatever. And they may even start to promote this somewhere. So I think that the brands need to start creating those. Like, for example, if Dell has a hashtag called Dell Deals, for instance, right? Then if people, they can sort of educate people about that, then people are going to just go to Google, just do hashtag Dell Deals, and they'll pretty much see whatever the new deals are. I think those things can happen, definitely. Because, I mean, I know Twitter is popular, but still it is not a mass market thing, right? Google is a mass market product. And I mean, we are always on Google searching. I think so. Definitely now that Google has sort of the power to use those tweets, they're definitely going to use it in many ways. So one way I'm looking at it is that I'm sure you know about the Google Plus author tag, which they sort of debunked not long ago. So I think that was quite a powerful thing. They were really trying to sort of show Google Plus stuff whenever, like, you know, let's say you're my friend on Google Plus and you had an article or you liked something. I basically sort of see that on my search results. And even sometimes that was preferred, right? So it was sort of bumped up whenever I search for something. So imagine if you now tweet out something. Let's say you tweet out that perfect laptop, And then I am searching for, let's say, student laptops or business laptops, and suddenly I see, oh, Mark has a tweet about that. So I think these things can start to happen, because now that they kind of have that graph, and they are actually sort of debunked that Google author tag already. So that doesn't that doesn't exist anymore.
So you're sort of saying that could replace it, right? Like you're sort of saying in the future, if Google has that level of depth of data, they could sort of know that we're Twitter friends and.
Yeah, definitely. Why not? I'm sure Google has their eyes on that, because they are always looking for new ways to sort of get a signal to figure out which links are better to sort of for SEO. And they have so many signals. And I think social signal is a big one. And Twitter is a big one, because Twitter, a lot of tweets are basically links. So I think for a brand's perspective, I know don't take our words, because we don't know anything right now. But the thing is, I do think that when Google does something like that, and they have a brilliant team that can really come up with an algorithm that can do a lot of cool stuff, like weight users, weight tweets, do a social graph, like who's friend and so on, who's following who's influencer, who's not. So I think brands need to sort of start paying attention to these things. That's just my theory.
You're 100% right, and like you're saying, the potentials are endless, right? At the moment you search on Google and you've got Google search, you've got Google News, you've got Google Images, you've got all this stuff, right? Tweets can almost integrate into all of those areas, right? Like Google News, I feel, could massively be impacted by tweets, right? We were just talking about the Virginia shooting. So I don't know whether that gets integrated into Google like news stories, or whether that gets integrated into its own thing along the top of Google. You could have a hashtags area, right? That you're 100% right. They've got so many areas they could go with it. I know Erdal just sent that question that you've replied to, that said, do you think engaging content that people retweet and favorite will get higher priority on Google? I do, and I think that's probably happening already. Like it's that early, but my guess would be that's probably like a really easy part of the algorithm. And like I said, you search for Virginia shooting right now, you're mainly seeing newspapers and tweets from those kind of organizations. And that could well be down to the fact that they're already getting a lot of retweets, a lot of shares, a lot of favorites. So I think you're definitely going to want to be looking for that stuff.
Yeah, I think verified profiles would be a big one. Like if your Twitter profile is verified, if your brand's profile is verified, I think that is definitely going to give you an edge, because Google can pretty much see that. Whatever the Twitter API gives, I'm sure they give more to Google, because the deal happened, I think, sometime in March, which was signed. So basically, Google has access to literally everything. And obviously, there are some talks that Google actually may even buy Twitter eventually along the way, because their social strategy kind of didn't work. So if that even happens, I think definitely it's like a way forward for them. So they are already started to implement some of the Twitter stuff inside, and I think Google is a great partner for Twitter, and I'm really excited, and I think this really opens up a new era for a lot of brands, even for SEO consultants who are like, they kind of have to think about that from now, because you need to be an early adopter. You don't want to come late to the party, because then things have already happened and it's going to be very difficult. So yeah, I think we will probably gonna play with the tools and experiment and stuff like that. But anyway, I want to point out the tool you mentioned, Sol's tool, and I love it. Actually, RightTag is great, but since this is Twitter's data that Google is getting, I also would give value to Twitter's own analytics tool. And many people don't know this, but Twitter actually has an analytics tool that you can access for free, but you need to sort of create an ad account for that. But then you don't have to like really run any ad. But once you create the ad account, you kind of have a tab that says analytics, and then you literally get all the analytics of your own account. And even you can do a lot of cool searches, like for example, how many tweets for certain hashtags and whatnot. So I think that is a good tool, because that is owned by Twitter, and Twitter is basically giving that data, I think, to Google as well. So I think that's a good tool to sort of keep an eye on. Would be my tip.
That's a great tip, man. Fantastic. Erdal also asked before about, do you think images in tweets will be indexed as well? Well, images are already being shown alongside tweets. So in terms of getting attention, it's yeah, 100%. Like having images with your tweets now are going to be even more powerful, because when they come up, or if they come up in Google search, those images will be displayed. So I don't know if they'll always be displayed, and I don't know what the algorithm is that determines whether an image is shown alongside a tweet or not, whether it's just if there's an image with a tweet, it gets shown, or whether it needs to be, what's it called? Like, my brain's not working, an O-graph type image, like, I don't know all the ins and outs of it yet, but I would put images with tweets right now, especially if they're tweets that you're hoping are going to get indexed in some way, like a sort of brand tweet. So definitely valuable. And that's really it. Like, unless you've got anything else you want to add, Saad, it's like I said, it's short.
Yeah, I think we pretty much have covered it. I mean, it is something new, and I think there will be more, like I'm sure there will be lots of articles. I mean, Google will also come up with stuff on that. So I think definitely, like, brands needs to pay attention to this, because there are definitely weights that can be put on tweets. And, if you don't want to like optimize your tweets with keywords and stuff, that's fine. But it's just that pay attention to what's happening or what's coming, because it's definitely coming.
One question I was going to ask you actually was, what do you think is going to determine, as like, for some smaller brands and individuals, what's going to determine Google connecting your tweets to your name when searched, right? Like, you can probably go and search right now Brian Fanzo and you will see tweets of his, right? But I know that tweets for my name are probably almost impossible, because there's a hugely popular French author called Mark Levy. Okay. So like he sort of dominates that space. But my point is like, how do you think at the moment Google are connecting this stuff up, but connecting, like, does your account need to be powerful enough in Twitter for it to know that Brian Fanzo is Brian at iSocialFans? Like,
this is, I think, Erda mentioned something, and I think that's kind of the way it's gonna go. So let's imagine that you create a hashtag of some sort, like Mark's Blab or whatever, and you are putting up amazing content, and people are retweeting you, tweeting you all the time with that. So I think the reputation will make it sort of rank, because eventually, once it's mentioned enough times, Google's algorithm is definitely going to pick that up. I mean, that's how Twitter currently determines trending tweets. Like, when a tweet goes trending sometimes, and even in other tools, basically that's how they kind of determine that. How many shares it gets, how many retweets, how many favorites, etc. So I think eventually even smaller brands, if they create something, even if it's a name or it's a phrase, if it's mentioned enough times by people other than just yourself, I think that would be definitely a way they're gonna work. That's just my opinion, but I think that's kind of how search works in general. So like, for example, if you look at SEO in general, I think it's not very different. Like, if you have a website, you have a good title and everyone sort of links to you can get that to rank. So links basically means, yes, I like it. So for tweets, if I retweet your stuff, what does it mean? That I like that stuff. Yeah. So I'm sort of endorsing it. Then obviously you can go one step forward. Let's say Brian Fanzo retweets your stuff. So obviously he has a bigger reach, he has a bigger following. And then from Brian Fanzo, say Joel Comm retweets that stuff. So I think every account has a weight, right? So if I retweet it, maybe it won't go anywhere. But if someone who has a strong following or who has a much more authority, I think, Twitter authority, not just like authority in general, I think that could play a part in those things, definitely.
And final thought, which connects to everything you just said, is that talk for a long time. Google have said, social signals do not affect our regular search algorithm. But now that they're going to have access to this data again, right? Let's say I write an article on the Blab Guide and you write a Blab Guide as well, but my one gets like 1,000 tweets and a million mentions and favorites, and your one doesn't. There is a chance now as well, moving forward, forgetting just tweets being in search results, actual Twitter data could influence overall search results organically. So big for people to think about as well.
Definitely.
All right, so that's awesome. I see one thing I'm going to do really quickly. I'm going to do a really quick recap, right? So, what do we say? Individuals and brands want to think carefully about what they tweet because they will show up when your name or brand is searched for. Brands and individuals are going to want to think a lot about their reputation, right? Their customer service, the sort of things that are being said about them publicly, because those tweets are going to show up when people are searching for specific products or services that those brands offer. We spoke about latest trends and hashtags ranking. So again, like you said, thinking about what hashtags you're going to use and keywords you're going to use in your tweets. You're going to want to pay a bit more attention to that. And like I said at the very end, images, right? Images are good. For ages, everybody's been saying, tweets with images, get more likes, get more shares, all of that kind of stuff. Here's another reason to use images with your tweets. So that is it, guys. That is the SEO Shorts in terms of tweets being shown in Google search. I'd like to thank Saad for jumping in at very short notice and doing an excellent job. So good, in fact, that I would like to get you back in future SEO Shorts shows.
Sure.
And thanks for everybody for watching. Adal, thanks for some good questions. And we will see you all